If the Indiana Fever's strength and conditioning and medical staff is getting paid anything more than about $1.25 an hour, it's too damn much. We've got another player that is now out for the season after we were told back for the game, now out, but not a setback. Well, I would, Stephanie White, I beg to differ, because it seems to me like out for the season is probably a pretty damn big setback. Fever fans, fire your incompetent training and medical staff. This brand of apple is right.
That's more than simply a slight. They don't want you to know that fact. The sound of a whole fan base realizing the terrible truth is what you're hearing. Not only is the Indiana Fever's training and medical staff inept, they have a medical despotism in power, and there in front of our eyes, it has been ruining their own athletes' careers. However, this is not a tale of a team failing. It has to do with rebelling. We have discovered Caitlin Clark's covert scheme to completely destroy this corrupt institution from the ground up. She is fighting a silent battle to reveal the truth and save her career. Keep on reading because I'll show you the proof, the strategy, and the true reason why the biggest star in the Fever had to turn into their greatest danger. This is the tale of a single player regaining control. You must comprehend the tyrannical victims in order to comprehend the resistance. Chloe Bibi is where it all begins. BBI was formally designated as day-to-day just a few weeks ago, which was a small problem. They wanted us to think it was only a short-term problem. However, those of us who pay close attention and recognize the trends recognize something wasn't right. Every day is code in a lie-based system. It's the initial phase of gaslighting, which aims to obfuscate the reality and lessen expectations. And Chloe Bibi's reality was terrible. When she ought to have been recuperating from a knee injury on cross-country flights, the business was pressuring her to travel by placing her on airplanes. Is it possible? Her knee reportedly swelled up so much from this forced travel that it ruined her season, with each rise and descent adding to the pressure in an already damaged joint. It was not a medical choice. A power play took place. It was the organization that put the look of a full bench ahead of a person's true health. For the sake of appearance, they carelessly jeopardized her career. And they looked the media in the eye and lied when the inevitable happened, when the year's daily tasks were finished. Coach Stephanie White, their most effective deceitful instrument, was used.
Doctor to know when something's wrong. Like, if you followed sports long enough, you know when something is seriously wrong. There's something wrong and she shouldn't have kept flying. Like, it's one thing, but she kept flying. Like, she should have been sent back to Indiana and just told not to travel. And at the same time, like, there's no reason for injury.
Used. Have you heard that? There was no setback, only some puffiness from the trip. She denied the existence of a setback while defining one. This is how a cover-up is expressed. It's a classic form of institutional gaslighting that aims to cause you to doubt reality. They want you to think that a disastrous injury development that ends the season isn't a setback in any way. However, Chloe Bibi was ruled out for the remainder of the year just 4 days after these remarks, and 4 days after they assured us that travel-related edema was not a major concern. They were aware. They must have been aware. This was not unexpected. They had been concocting a lie for weeks, and this was the last straw. Furthermore, Chloe Bibi wasn't the only victim. This was not a singular occurrence. There is a trend here. 5 players have been sidelined by season-ending injuries in just 4 weeks, indicating a clear medical catastrophe. 5. Take a moment to comprehend that figure. It's not unlucky. Incompetence is a systemic problem. Due to a season-ending knee injury, Sophie Cunningham is not playing. ACL tear for Sydney Colson. Yari McDonald with a foot injury. Players who trusted this group were eliminated one by one. A medical system that is at best criminally negligent and at worst purposefully harmful ruined their seasons. It is seen by the fans. They sense it. They are demanding that someone eradicate the illness since they are aware that this squad is decaying from the inside out.
Was listed as day-to-day 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, she was day-to-day. And then all of a sudden, she goes from day-to-day to she's back playing. She was day-to-day, she was in practice, and then suddenly she's back playing. Stephanie White was asked about this, and her words were that there was no setback, just a little bit of swelling because of traveling. And we all said it, we were like, she's just defined a setback. She just said there's no setback and then defined a setback. And they were like, e-swelling while traveling is a setback. Unless, of course, they
Utterly rotted. The people who invest their money and hearts in our team have come to that conclusion. They recognize what the group is attempting to conceal and are calling for a revolution. That this malfeasance is a 5-alarm fire. And who else witnessed it, do you know? The only one having sufficient authority to take action. Clark Caitlin. Clark observed the events surrounding Bibi. She witnessed the inconsistencies, the lies, and the flagrant disdain for a player's future. She realized she was next when she saw the long list of injured teammates. She realized that she was putting her own career at risk if she complied with the same medical staff and the same procedures that ruined their seasons. She decided to do so. The whole WNBA has been rocked by this decision. She made the decision to defend herself. This marks the start of her covert conflict. Caitlin Clark went straight to team officials and gave them a startling ultimatum, according to sources within the company. I'm hiring my own physicians. I'm not going to use our physicians. I'm not making a request. This is an independence proclamation. It is an outright denial of the medical authority of the team. The historic battle between Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs is reflected in this extraordinary action. A battle that finally brought down a dynasty. A line has been drawn in the sand by Clark. She is taking charge of her own health and future. She has been seeing separate medical specialists in New York as of right now. She is receiving second, third, and any other opinions that aren't influenced by the culture of dishonesty that permeates the Fever. This is the most important aspect of her strategy. She is reluctant to let the Fever's trainers know the outcome of these discussions. They are no longer with her. In order to protect herself from their ineptitude, she has established her own medical island. Clark had entirely cut off contact with the team's medical staff, so when Coach Stephanie White was asked for an update on the health of her best players, she had to tell the world that she had none. This is the first stage of her confinement strategy. The bleeding has ceased because of her. She is no longer a part of the oppressive system that has put her teammates in such peril. She has removed their authority over her body and the story that surrounds it. However, why did this have to happen? Why was it necessary for a generational celebrity to battle her own franchise? Because poor medicine isn't the only issue here. It has to do with a society that values control over care. A PhD is not necessary to comprehend what is taking place in Indiana. All you have to do is having been a sports fan long enough to recognize when something is seriously flawed. Anybody who has ever participated in sports understands that swelling is essentially your body's response to things going wrong. Additionally, I'm rather concerned about Caitlin Clark's injury. Like, how in the world do you recognize when something is really, really wrong? Isn't that the reality? We all sensed it. We all noticed the warning signs. Chloe Beebe's continued flight was not a straightforward error. It was a sign of an unhealthy company. A team that would sooner jeopardize a player's career than acknowledge that they have an issue. A company that has fostered such a poisonous atmosphere of mistrust that their franchise player was forced to rebel. Ego was not the driving force behind Caitlin Clark's choice. Theodore was the source of it, and his dread was very reasonable. She recognized the pattern. She will be subjected to the same lies that were told about BB. She would suffer from the same medical mismanagement that put Cunningham's season on the road to failure. Anyone with a rudimentary understanding of the human body would have done this as a means of survival. Anyone who has ever participated in sports is aware of the reality that this organization still refuses to acknowledge. Do not allow anyone to deceive you into thinking that this is typical. That's what this whole thing is about. The Fever Group wants you to think that a crisis of ancient injuries is commonplace. They want you to understand that it's all part of the game to go from day to day to season ending in a few days. They are making a concerted effort to mainstream medical malpractice. However, Caitlin Clark is not going to be duped. She is not going to take this as the usual. She is not only rebelling to protect herself, the goal is to dispel the myth that this is okay. By refusing to take part in the lie, she is revealing the truth. Already, her covert scheme has proven to be an incredible success. She is in charge now. she has safeguarded her future. However, this is just the start. Self-preservation was the focus of Phase 1. Justice is the focus of Phase 2. What did Caitlin Clark's self-employed New York doctors find? What did they discover that the 25-hour-a-day medical personnel failed to notice, or worse, concealed? Already the murmurs are beginning. According to sources, there is unquestionably a level of egregious malpractice involved because the diagnosis made by her private specialists differs so drastically from the team's original judgment. This is the franchise's central ticking time bomb. The evidence is in Clark's possession. The evidence of their despotism is in her possession. When she uses it is the only question, not if she will. The loudness of her silent conflict is going to explode. Furthermore, the careers of a few trainers won't be the only ones affected when the whole truth about what her physicians discovered is revealed. It might topple the entire government. Right now, we're looking into that, and we won't stop until the whole story is revealed.